Hello friends, I am Chevy. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life where you are? How's things in your world? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear from you. Always. Today I published an article on my website. Haven't done that in a while. CheveeDodd.com if you want to go read it. I'll link it down below also. And it is about the thing that I teased a couple of days ago that I didn't want to talk about at that point in time because I was working on this article. And working on this article gave me a whole new topic to talk about. So, if you didn't go check out the link, a couple of you did. I created a random weapon generation algorithm or procedure, not really an algorithm, for a video game that doesn't exist, essentially. And this all started because I've been playing some games on my phone that are kind of minimalist RPG, like just almost clicker type games, but there is some progression and some leveling and you have to like swap gear and stuff. And I started playing and I was thinking like, you know, these games would be very simple to implement because they're turn-based. I wonder if I could do that in PHP, which is the language that I use at work mostly. Literally all of my websites are PHP backend with, you know, some JavaScript, but mostly HTML front end. Anyway, the whole point is, I thought, I wonder if I could write one of these simple little games as a web app. And I started thinking about that. Like, that'd be a good learning exercise. We have a few web apps at work, and we have them kind of working, but how would I do it, you know, on a larger scale? I don't know. So I started kind of experimenting with the idea in my head. And the idea stayed in my head for a couple of weeks. And that's what the article kind of talks about, is how when I get something stuck in my head, it doesn't happen like it used to. It used to happen daily. I would have an idea, and I just couldn't get it out of my head, and it's all I would think about. It became very invasive, and it would, you know, just filter through everything that throughout the day. You know, I would just be thinking about it. But my creativity took a huge dive when I started my medication. It's coming back slowly, but every now and then I'll get something stuck in my head. And the thing that I learned years ago when that happens is take notes. If I want it out of my head, the best way to get it out is to take notes. And then if it's an idea worth pursuing, maybe I'll come back to those notes and go. For this particular idea, it got stuck in my head very hard, and I took notes. I took pages of notes, lots of notes, about how this whole thing might work, and I still couldn't get it out of my head. So I took my own advice, which has always been prototype. Just make it. The only way you're going to know if you can is if you do. So just do it. And when I thought about, you know, if I was making this really basic RPG where a character just had like an attack stat and a defense stat, and that was it, and some equipment so you could have a sword and a shield or whatever, how would I create that? And one of the things I got stuck on really early on was how would I make cool weapons? Because cool weapons are the whole point of these types of games. You want to have that flaming Vorpal sword of eternal justice or whatever it is, because that's cool. How do you do that? I don't know. I've never really looked into game design or game programming theory. So what I did was reinvent the wheel. I came up with my own way to do it. I have no clue how other video games do it. I didn't do any research. I just did it the way that I know how to do things programmatically. If I say I want to have a prefix like Vorpal and I want it to occur on 20% of the weapons that are created, then I can, you know, make random number generators, and every, you know, if it falls within a certain range, then it gets that keyword or whatever. So the article talks a little bit about how I broke up the name of the weapon into parts, and I assigned probability to those parts, and some of those parts have subcategories that have other probabilities, so that you can get this pretty randomized list of names for weapons. And then I build on top of that by giving those names attributes that could be added to the weapon's base value. And I went through this whole process, and while I was writing that article, I realized, like, I don't have notes, or I don't have screenshots for one. That would be even more helpful, of my process along the way. And this article that I wrote today was kind of just an introduction to why the hell I created this random weapon generator that has no place in the world. If you go to it and you click on make me a weapon, it makes you a weapon and it gives you some stats like fire and all this other stuff that means absolutely nothing. Like, there's no game system behind all of these numbers. It's just, I wanted to play with it. And I have at least 6 more articles that I want to write revolving around how this was created. The technical details. This was a very non-technical article. The next few articles are going to be very technical, where I talk about how I accomplish things. But I have no notes. I didn't use source control. I mean, I guess I could go look through Dropbox's file save history and pull out, source control that way. But I don't. For all the note taking that I take before I start a project, I don't take notes while I'm in the middle of the project. Why? It would be so much easier. I started this, the website that I published on Tuesday, I started a week before that. And I have no notes through that whole process of how I accomplished all of that and why things are structured the way they are and how I came up with the numbers that I used. And, there was different versions of the formula prior to and before releasing or after releasing. I've tweaked it since then. I don't have notes of any of that. I have to remember all of that when I write these articles. That frustrates me. How do I learn how to do this part during the creation of something? And that goes for everything. Like, when I built a desk for M, I completely 3D modeled that desk, created cut lists and everything, and had it all planned out, how to cut it, how to assemble it. But then when it came time to do it, there were some changes, and I didn't note those changes anywhere. So if I ever wanted to recreate that desk, I'd have to figure it all out again. That's frustrating. If you are creative, if you do programming, if you do product development or anything like that, how do you solve the problem of taking notes? I mean, I know the answer. As a programmer, I'm supposed to use source control, and that would be my notes. I could go look at all my commits and all the history. I could have branches for every major change, and I could go look back through the old branches. But I didn't do that for this because I was just noodling. Probably should have. Probably should, going forward, put it on some sort of source control so that I can at least, look back. But fun times. If you did go play with the weapon generator, let me know what you think in the comments below. If you come up with a funny name, there's only about 30 names in the database for each of the elements. I would like to expand that list by adding more and more, and I think I'm going to try to figure out a way to let people who go there submit their own words. But I have to do a whole bunch of filtering and stuff because I don't want people on the internet are rude. Let me know if you have any ideas. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends and wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And I will see you tomorrow. Today's word you should know is asynchronous. That's quite serendipitous. It's an adjective meaning an action or functioning with no regularity or discernible time schedule. Maggie's asynchronous habits drive her friends crazy because they can never make advanced plans with her. Asynchronous. ASYNCHRONOUS.